Hey guys, Aaron here of Apple Updates. In this video, I'm going to be talking about the HTC One and the Samsung Galaxy S4. So now, if you guys follow me on Twitter, you guys will know that I absolutely love the HTC One. Now, I don't actually have an HTC One, so I can't really, talk about it that much. And also, I don't have a Samsung Galaxy S4, so I'm just going to basically be talking to you guys about the standpoint of the consumer that doesn't have these devices and is deciding which one to buy. So now, looking at the Samsung Galaxy S4, many reviewers and people aren't satisfied with its plastic back. Now, personally, I agree that a plastic back, it doesn't really look good and it doesn't feel so good in the hand. I mean, it just feels cheap, and cheap is not good. But again, looking at the HTC One, of course, the HTC One has an aluminum back. It doesn't matter if you buy the black one or the silver one, it's going to both look great and feel great in your hand, of course. That is what she said. Another thing I wanted to mention, of course, is the screen size. Now, as you know, the Samsung Galaxy S4 has a 5-inch screen. Now, of course, the HTC One doesn't have a screen that big. But I personally prefer a smaller screen rather than a gigantic screen that, is really big and can't fit into my hand. I mean, of course it'll fit into my hand, but I just, I'd rather having a smaller screen than to have a huge screen and kind of needing to move my fingers around, and that is a little bit inconvenient and uncomfortable, and sometimes it could even be a little bit awkward to hold it like that. The next thing I want to talk about is camera quality. So now, as you know, the HTC One has a 4-megapixel camera. Now, they call this an ultra pixel camera because basically it uses bigger pixels so that it would let in more colors into the camera. Now, I don't know if you guys know this, but the amount of megapixels on a camera doesn't matter, when you're talking about quality, because, I could have let's say, a 16 megapixel camera on a smartphone, from China. I'm not, no offense to China or anything, they make great phones. But if I, buy some sort of smartphone off of eBay with, a high megapixel camera, the quality of the camera will not compare to my Canon PowerShot ELPH300HS 12.1 megapixel camera, because the sensor in my Canon PowerShot ELPH300HS is better than the sensor in the 16 megapixel camera. So it really doesn't make a difference if it's 12 or 16, or with the HTC One, it doesn't make a difference if it is a 4 megapixel camera or a 13 megapixel camera. Either way, the quality on the Samsung Galaxy S4 is going to look really crappy, like all of these Samsung smartphone cameras do. And there's nothing we can really do about it. So HTC One's camera, it's gonna look just the same. Now, of course, I'm going to talk now about battery life. Now, I don't really have either phones, but I can tell you that there's no comparison in battery life when it comes to the Samsung Galaxy S4 and the HTC One. The HTC One just completely blows the Samsung Galaxy S4 out of the window for a few standpoints. First of all, because the HTC One doesn't have a removable back, which of course I don't like anyway, they put a higher milliamp hour battery in it so that, it'll last longer. With the Samsung Galaxy S4, they're assuming that more people are going to use removable replacement batteries because they have a removable back and they can switch the batteries. And basically, that's dumb, because most people aren't going to have a spare battery around them, at all times if they run out of battery on their Samsung Galaxy S4. So you know, the HTC One, you know, of course, is better than that. So now, I get the impression that you get the impression that I'm a fan of the HTC One and not of the Samsung Galaxy S4. Now, you know, it all comes down to one thing, personal preference. I mean, you could rather the, you know, one phone over the other, and that's completely fine. But you know what? Just have a look for yourself. I mean, read the reviews, read the comparisons. Everyone is going to rant on the Samsung Galaxy S4, and everyone's going to give love to the HTC One. So again, it's personal preference, but if I were to recommend a phone for you, then I would have to go with the HTC One. That's all for this video. Of course, if you have a different opinion on the matter, feel free to leave a comment. Of course, I will try to answer all the comments. You know, sometimes I'm not able to, sometimes I am. We'll see. But that's all for this video, and as always, have a great day.